Hi, you guys, it's Mrs. Palmer. I have had a few of you email questions from the Simple Interest number 2 assignment. And so I am just going to go through a lot of the questions that were emailed to me and some other questions on that assignment. And hopefully this video will help you to be able to do your ALEKS problems. Okay, so for this first one, it says Ahmed obtains a loan for home renovations from a bank that charges simple interest at an annual rate of 3.6%. His loan is for $14,300 for 99 days. Assume each day is 1/365th of a year. Answer each part below. Okay, so for each of these questions, what you want to do is you want to figure out the information that you've been given, and then you want to figure out the information that they are looking for, the thing that you were not given. And then you take the information that you were given to figure out the thing that you don't know. Okay, so for this one, on part A, it says find the interest that will be owed after 99 days. Okay, and we have to assume each day is 1/365th of a year. So this is pretty key in being able to answer part A. Okay, so find the interest that will be owed. So that is going to be our big I. That's how we find interest. Okay, remember our formula is interest equals principal times rate times time. Okay, so now let's go back to our question. It says that his loan is for $14,300. So that means our principal is $14,300. And whatever question you have, you want to use this same process. Okay, you want to identify all of your given information. And then it says that simple interest rate of 3.6%. So that means the R is 3.6%, and we want to change this to a decimal, so that would be 0.036 to be able to use it in our formula. Okay, now for the time, this is where it's a little bit tricky. Find the interest that will be owed after 99 days. And in this formula right here, the T is time in years. Okay, and this says assume each day is 1/365th of a year. Okay, so when we figure out what our time is, if we're finding the interest that will be owed after 99 days, 99 days out of 365, that would be our T. Okay, now a few of you told me that you don't have a calculator that does fractions. So let me go ahead and show you how we're going to figure this out if you're using a calculator that doesn't do fractions, or if you're using your phone as a calculator. This will also work. So the way that you do it is you plug in the things that you know. So we don't know the big I, we don't know the interest. We know our P, or our principal, is 14,300. We know our rate is 0.036. And we know our time is 99 out of 365. Okay? So if you're using a calculator that does not do fractions, the way that you need to do this is you need to do the 99 divided by 365 first. You're going to change this to a decimal. Okay, and when you put that into your calculator, you will get 0.27123287. It's actually a non-repeating decimal, okay? But don't round it off at this point, okay? Leave it as a non-repeating decimal, and then do the rest of your calculations. So I'm going to take that number that I have in my calculator when I did the 99 divided by 365, and then I'm going to times that by 0.036, and then I'm going to hit equals. And then I'm going to times that by 14,300, okay? So when you're doing these, don't round in the middle of doing the problem, or else you won't get the same answer that Alex is expecting. Okay, so now for the I get 139.630691, and at this point I am going to round. Okay, remember this is money, and money rounds to the hundredths place. So we look at the number after the hundredths place. If it is not 5 or bigger, then this would not round up. So $139.63 would be the interest owed after 99 days. And then for part B, assuming Ahmed doesn't make any payments, find the amount owed after 99 days. Okay, so the part A, that's the interest, and then you have to add that to the original loan amount, and that will tell you how much he now owes after 99 days. So if I take the $139.63 and I add it to $14,300, I get $14,439.63. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at another question. A restaurant borrows $16,100 from a local bank for 4 months. The local bank charges simple interest rate at an annual rate of 2.45% for this loan. Assume each month is 1/12 of a year. Answer each part below. So if each month is 1/12 of a year and they borrow the money for 4 months, the time in years is going to be 4 out of 12. Okay, because it's 4 months out of the 12 months, because there's 12 months total in the year. Okay, now find the interest that will be owed after 4 months. So what we now do is we take our simple interest formula, interest equals principal times rate times time. We plug in the things that we know to solve for what we don't know, which in this case is the interest. Okay, so 16,100, that is our principal. 4 months, that is our time in years. And remember, we write it as 4 out of 12 because it's the time in years. And there's 4 months out of 12 months. And then our rate is 2.45%. Okay, so 16,100 times by our rate, which is 2.45%, which we're going to change that to 0.0245. And then we multiply that by our time, which is 4 months out of 12. Okay? Now, when you do this in your calculator, remember if your calculator does not do fractions, you're going to want to start by doing the 4 divided by 12. You want to change that fraction to a decimal. So 4 divided by 12 equals 0.33 repeating. Do not round at this point, okay? Leave that answer in your calculator and then multiply by your 0.0245 and then multiply by the 16,100, okay? And that is going to give you $131.48. The other numbers in the calculator look like this, but when we're doing our answer right here, it's at this point that we round. Okay, money rounds to the hundredths, so the 8 is in the hundredth spot. The one after that is not 5 or bigger, so this would be $131.48. That's the interest that will be owed after 4 months. Assuming the restaurant doesn't make any payments, find the amount owed after 4 months. So that's where you take the 16,100, you add it to the 131.48, and that gives you the total amount owed after 4 months, which is $16,231.48. Okay, so let's look at this other question. This is one that a student emailed me they were having trouble with, and I'm sure that some of you are having trouble with this same question. So Lucy took out a loan for $10,500 and was charged simple interest rate at an annual rate of 8.8%. The total interest she paid on the loan was $462. How long was the loan for in months? So the question that we're asking or answering here is how long was the loan for in months? Okay, so we're going to take our simple interest formula, I equals P times R times T. We're going to identify the things that we know in the formula and then solve for what we don't know. So if Lucy took out a loan for $10,500, that is your principal amount. That's the starting amount. The rate is 8.8%, which is going to be 0.088. The time, that's the thing that we don't know. And then the interest, it says the total interest she paid on the loan was $462. Okay, let's plug all of this into the formula. So for the I, we're going to plug in 462. For the P, we're going to plug in 10,500. For the R, we're going to plug in 0.088. And for the time, that's the thing that we don't know. So we're going to leave that a variable. Okay, so to solve this one, we're going to do the 10,500 times 0.088. So plug that into your calculator. And I get 924 times T. So 462 equals 924 times by T. And if we want to solve for the T, we have to get rid of the multiplication of 924. So we're going to divide by 924 on both sides. So when you take 462 and you divide by 924, you get 0.5. Okay? Now, 0.5 is the same as 1/2. And 1/2 of a year, because we have to figure out how long was the loan for in months. So 1/2 of a year is going to be 6 months. Okay, this is another question that a student emailed me. Maya took out a loan for 5 months and was charged simple interest rate at an annual rate of 4.8%. And the total interest she paid was $170. How much money did Maya borrow? Okay, so we're going to use our simple interest formula. We're going to plug in the things that we know to figure out what we don't know. This one right here is asking us to find out how much did Maya borrow. That's the P. The P is the thing that we don't know here. So the I is 170. The P, we don't know. The rate is 0.048 because we're going to take this right here, get rid of the percent by dividing by 100. And then the time is 5 months. And remember, T in our formula is time in years. So if they give you the months, you have to write the time as 5 months out of 12 months because there's 12 total months in a year. Okay? So now we plug into the formula. For the I, we know that's 170. We don't know the P, so we're going to leave that a P. We know the rate is 0.048. We know the time is 5/12 of a year. Okay? Then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to start with, for those of you who don't have a calculator that does fractions, you are going to start with doing the 5 divided by 12, change that to a decimal. Do not round at that point. Then times by 0.048, and you get 0.02. So now we have 170 equals 0.02 times by P. And now we have to divide by 0.02 on both sides. So if you take 170 and you divide by 0.02, you get 8,500. So P equals 8,500. Okay, this is another question emailed to me by a student. Deandra took out a loan for 146 days and was charged in simple interest rate at an annual rate of 12.5%. The total interest he paid on the loan was $245. How much money did Deandra borrow? Okay, so the thing that we don't know here is the P. Remember, on each of these, you're using your simple interest formula. You're going to figure out the things that you know. So we know the total interest he paid on the loan was $245. We don't know the P. We know the R is 12.5%, which in order to use our formula, we've got to take that and divide by 100 to get rid of the percent sign. And then for our T, we know that the loan was for 146 days, and we need to assume that there are 365 days in a year. And so for time, when you're doing time in years, you have to do the 146 out of 365. Okay, now we just plug everything we know into the formula to solve for what we don't know. So instead of the I, we know that's 245. We don't know the P, so we're going to leave that a variable. We know the R is 0.125. We know the T is 146 out of 365. Okay, so the time in years is 146 days out of 365. So now when you figure out the answer for this, you're going to want to do the 146 divided by 365 first, and then don't round that, and then times by 0.125, and then that gives you 0.05. Remember, that's still times by P equal to 245. So to get rid of the multiplication of 0.05, so you can be left with P, you use division. So 245 divided by 0.05 is $4,900. That is the principal amount. Okay, so this is, I'll do one more question with you. This is another question that a student emailed to me. Shen took out a $5,000 loan for 292 days and was charged simple interest. The total interest that was paid on the loan was $336. As a percentage, what was the annual interest rate of Shen's loan? Assume there are 365 days in a year. Okay, so on this one, we are trying to figure out, as a percentage, the annual interest rate. Okay, so for this one, we don't know the rate. So let's take our formula. Let's figure out the things that we do know, plug them into the formula so that we can then solve for the rate. Okay, so Shem took out a $5,000 loan. That's our P. For 292 days. Now remember, when you're doing the time, it's time in years. So if the loan was for 292 days, that needs to be written as 292 out of 365 because it says assume that there are 365 days in a year. Okay, the R, we don't know that. And then the I, the total interest that he paid on the loan was $336. Okay, so here we go. 336 equals P, which is 5,000, times R, which we don't know, times T, which is our 292 out of 365. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do here is you want to take and do 292 divided by 365. And everyone can do that, even on your phone. I'm actually using my phone right now. And then don't round at that point. Okay, then times by your 5,000. And so you get 4,000 times by R equals 336. And then to solve for the R, you would need to divide both sides by 4,000. So if I take 336 and I divide by 4,000, I get 0.084. Okay, now as far as your answer in ALEKS, it says as a percentage, what was the annual interest rate? This right here is a decimal. So if we want to change a decimal to a percent, we've got to times by 100. So this becomes 8.4%. That's what you would enter in ALEKS. That is your rate. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful. I know it's challenging that we are not together in person. If you're still having questions after this, email me, let me know, and I can try and set up a Google chat maybe for some time later this afternoon, and I can try and help you that way. So Hopefully you guys have a really good day, and let me know if you have any other questions. There are only 2 new assignments this week, so you can spend today getting caught up on your simple interest number 2 assignment, and then there will be a new assignment tomorrow and then also on Thursday. Talk to you soon.